Russ Rogers here from the 17 Law Studio, and we're still talking about disciplining your children. Is it okay to spank? Why is there World War III every night when we try to get the kids to bed? Why the attitudes? I want you to have a peaceful home. I want parents asking you, wow, how do you do it? Why are your children so respectful? Are you giving them drugs? I'm just kidding on that. Today, I'm going to dive deeper into some specifics on how you get the sanity back in your life. So let's go back and briefly bring you up to date from my last show, because this is part two. Go back and talk about part one. We talked about that you have to train your children. And if you are leaving it up to someone else, well, that's not a good plan. I call that the hope plan. You're hoping it turns out okay, although you're not doing much about it. I sometimes call that the coward plan because parents are too weak to tackle the hard topics. So let's be intentional about training our children to be respectful, disciplined, and overall good people who anyone would want in their life, anyone would love to hire, anyone would want them as a mentor or a spouse. We also talked in depth about spanking. Should I spank? Should I not? Will it scar them for life? You really need to go back and watch this show, but what I pointed out was that people tend to decide to spank or not spank as if spanking is the only form of discipline. They're really saying, do I discipline my child, hold them accountable for their actions, or not? My point was this: you must hold your children accountable. You must discipline your child. You must create an atmosphere of peace and respect in your home. But there's so many tools to accomplish this, and spanking just happens to be one of them. If you're against spanking, then use one of the other many, many tools. You must do something and not stay on the hope plan, allowing your children to wreak havoc in your home. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to your spouse. Not fair to your friends. And it's so unfair to your children. I probably didn't do a good job of explaining. So again, please go back and watch the previous show or listen to part one on discipline. So let's dive in with some specifics. And I'll start off with a concept that I think you'll appreciate. Couples tell me that their children won't mind, but that's not true at all. They mind some people some of the time, so they do have the capacity to act right and be decent human beings. You have to admit your children do act well in front of some people, so you know it's possible. Couples tell me that they tell their children to do something, count to 10 or whatever they do, and it goes on and on and on, and parents get frustrated, start yelling, and at some point the parent's temper is through the roof. The child recognizes that the parent means business because it's really about to get bad. And finally, the child goes to bed, cleans the room, or whatever it is that was supposed to happen. So, see, the child did obey. They knew exactly when to obey and not a second sooner. They knew that they had to do what was asked or it was going to get really bad. They also knew that the first 10 times that they were asked to do it, nothing was really going to happen if they didn't do it. So there's really no compelling reason to do it. Once there was a compelling reason, which was mom or dad going through the roof, they did it. See, they can and do obey. However, the parents have trained the child when it's okay to obey, and they've trained the child when it's not okay to obey. You as a parent are blaming your child, but you are the one who trained your child that it's okay not to take you seriously until you get out of control. So here's the fix. I know you're wanting this, right? You're thinking, that's me. How do I fix this? Whatever you were going to do when you went from a 1 to a 10, 1 to a 10, do that at 1. If when you get to a 10, tempers are off the charts, you're going to take away their phone, cars, keys, spank, can't go to ball games, ground them for the rest of life, whatever it is you're going to do that at 1. And I really mean this. Your child needs to obey the first time, and not obeying the first time reaps consequences. If you say they have to obey the third time, then bad things happen. Then they will obey the third time, realizing that you really don't mean what you say the first 2 times. So we were at a hotel swimming pool one summer, and there was a mother yelling for her little girl to come to her so they could go inside to eat lunch. That's what it seemed to be happening. Appeared this little girl had a little brother who needed some food before he had a meltdown, which we get that. The lady was literally yelling for her daughter, who was probably 7 or 8 years old, while chasing her around the pool. The girl was on one side of the pool, faking out mom as they were going different going around the pool. So whatever way the mom went, the girl went the other way. And the mom started yelling, "I'm going to count to 5 and you better come to me." All the while she was chasing around. 1. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. 2. You're going to get in big trouble. Megan, get over here. 3. And then mom said, "If you'll come right now, I'll give you some ice cream." And the girl obeyed mom right then and ran over for ice cream. Man, there are so many things wrong with this, but in the end, the child did obey. That's my point. It was with a bribe, but the end result was that the child knew when to obey. She knew if she held out, something good was going to happen. And the little girl's plan worked. And the parents trained her perfectly. She's doing exactly how she was trained. And I remember when I was probably around 12 years old, I stayed over at a cousin's house while my parents were out of town. We were told to go to bed early, but we were boys and rowdy and we didn't do it. My uncle, his dad, came in and yelled at us to go to bed. And my cousin kept on being loud. And I was a little bit freaked out, but he really didn't seem to be worried. My uncle came in there 2 or 3 more times until you can hear him stomping coming down the hallway. And my cousin knew then that it was time to go to bed, and we both jumped under the covers and tried to fake like we were asleep. Of course, no one was fooled by our ruse, so it wasn't a pleasant experience after that. And I always remember that night and how my cousin always knew exactly how long he could drag this out until his dad meant business. And I'm guessing that this could be you, so this is how you fix this. It's easy. Again, whatever you're going to do, when you lost your temper, do that first. Do that before you lose your temper. Do that while you are calm. If you teach your child to only listen to you when you lose your temper, then you will have to lose your temper every time to get your child to be respectful, do their homework, or treat their mother with respect, or be nice to their siblings, or whatever it is. What you want to do is establish this culture in your home. Obey the first time. Not obeying the first time is disobeying. Obeying with a bad attitude is disobeying. Make this a rule in your home, and you will get part of your life back. Okay, I get it. You're thinking, "Oh, this is impossible." Well, let me share with you that it is so possible. It will take some time, some effort, and your children will test you to see if you really mean it. But I can tell you from experience, this is so much easier than not doing it. Obey the first time. Not obeying the first time is disobeying. Obeying with a bad attitude is disobeying. Some of you are thinking, "Hey, Russ, my family is too far gone for any of this to be a reality." There's no way. For you guys, I want to encourage you that it is possible, and I'm going to help you do it step by step. And I'll take a couple of shows to get through all the steps, but I'm going to go step by step, and I assure you that it's possible. Again, your children already know when you mean it, but they also know when you really don't mean it. What we're going to cover is how to make sure they know that you mean it the first time. So step 1, if you tell your children to do something today and they don't do it the first time, you tell them, and if you unleash the wrath of mom and dad on them immediately, then that's not fair to them. I know I just told you they have to obey the first time, and now I'm telling you don't do it. That's not what I mean. It's just not fair to them that you've been training them to obey you the 10th time, and now you're all of a sudden going to not, you want them to obey the first time. That's not fair to them. So this is what I mean. Let your children know the new standard. Call a meeting, have a short conversation or something, whatever you want to call it, and let them know something like this. "Hey guys, I apologize that I've been asking you to do something and not really mean it. I apologize that I don't make you do something until I lose my temper or till everyone's frustrated. I realize this isn't fair to you. It's not fair to me, not fair to anybody. I want us to have a peaceful home, and so I need you to help be a part of that. So moving forward, if I ask you to do something, I expect you to do it the first time that I ask you with a good attitude, immediately and respectfully, and or share with me respectfully why that's not possible. If I agree with you on the reason, we may adjust. If not, then you will have to immediately, with a good attitude, do what I say the first time. If you don't, there will be consequences immediately. I'm not going to get upset anymore. I'm done yelling. You do what I ask the first time with a good attitude or tell me immediately why it can't happen. So I want you sharing this because if you don't, you're going to frustrate your child and you're not being consistent. So let's not frustrate your child because up until now, you have been very consistent in not meaning what you say. So now you have to set a new standard and you have to be consistent. I get it. Early on, you may have to tell them something. You may have to jog their memory if they have a memory lapse, and you may have to give them a nudge. But this is early on and not something that's going to be a way of life. For example, you may say, "Hey, it's your bedtime. Need you to go to bed?" And their first reaction may be to sit and ignore what you say for a few seconds. And you may have to say, "Becky, you remember what we spoke about obeying the first time?" And I'm thinking this is the first couple of days, but after that, it's game on. You obey the first time with a good attitude. Let me know quickly, respectfully, why you can't happen. And obeying with a bad attitude is disobeying. So obeying with a bad attitude brings on the exact same consequences as disobeying. Did you get that? Obeying with a bad attitude brings on the exact same consequences as disobeying. There's no difference in the two. Okay, so what would be some examples of a reason they could ask not to obey? Right. That's a fair question. As I answer that, keep in mind that it is wrong to frustrate your child. I'll get into that because said so stuff in a few minutes, but it's a terrible way to parent if you're always saying things because I said so. Let me share this with you. Are you helping your relationship with your child if you frustrate them or hurting your relationship with your child when you frustrate them? Are you gaining more respect from them when you frustrate them or are you losing respect from them when you frustrate them? Do they have a deeper desire to do what you ask when you frustrate them, or do they carry a deeper desire to do anything but obey you when you frustrate them? If you lead by example, is teaching them to frustrate people helping train them in a good way or a bad way? I could go on and on, but you get the point. Frustrating your child is wrong. It's such a big deal. That's actually in the Bible. Look in Ephesians 6. It actually says, do not exasperate your children. Do not. It doesn't say, well, when you get a chance in certain situations. No, it says don't. Go back to the question of what would be good examples of reasons they would not have to obey. Because I'm telling you they have to obey immediately, and then I'm telling you they don't. So for clarity, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they have to obey the first time with a good attitude or immediately and respectfully give me a reason why it's not going to happen. No, I say immediately because if they ignore me, the answer will always be no. I say respectfully because if we're creating an atmosphere of respect, and not showing respect is not obeying. So if they come up to me with an attitude, nope, not going to happen. So let's say your children are playing a game in the basement and they're literally 5 minutes from being done. You can hear them laughing and having fun knowing someone is about to win whatever game it is they're playing. And you say, hey kids, dinner's on the table, come on up. One of them could say, hey dad, we're almost done. At the most 5 more minutes. Can we finish? And Becky is about to win. Can we have 5 more minutes? As a dad, you could say no, and they'd have to come up. But in this case, it would really frustrate the children to leave at the most exciting part of the game, and no doubt. And there would be some sad faces at the dinner table, and it would be your fault that they're having those sad faces. Because what difference does it make to have 5 more minutes? Chances are dinner wasn't exactly on the table anyway. You probably were still putting ice in the glasses, had to put out some napkins, people had to wash their hands, whatever. While this sounds petty, it's really a big deal to stop frustrating your child. In this example, you waiting 5 minutes and now you have a house full of peace and joy. Had you decided to be a tyrant about it, then you would have a house full of frustrated people, and again, it would be your fault. As you sat around the dinner table, had you not given them 5 minutes, how much fun would those conversations be? How eager are your children going to be to open up and tell you about their day and their problems? Did that extra 5 minutes improve your relationship with your child? So again, it seems like small examples. So let me give you some more real life examples, and then I'm going to give you some ways to keep all this from happening. So let's say you were at a friend's house with all your children, and the adults were doing adult things, and the children were watching a movie Elf in the basement. You decided it was time to go. Got in the car, warmed up, and told the children to come on. One child says, "Hey, Mom, the movie will be over in 10 minutes. Can we please finish it?" Here's one more chance for you to decide if you're willing to frustrate your children over 10 minutes. So, what if the car has to run an extra 10 minutes? How many times has everyone been in a bad mood, and how much would you give if the only thing that would bring peace back in your home is to get that 10 minutes back so they could watch that movie? I say that because it's an easy decision. However, I see parents all the time talk because I said so. So their children will learn respect. Well, I call that a myth. Simply not true. You are teaching lack of respect. You are hurting the teaching respect if you live by the because I said so as a way of life. Here's some examples. I asked my son one time to help me carry something in the garage. He said, "Hey, Dad, I really have to go to the bathroom. Can I run do that first?" Of course, I'm good with it, although I really only needed him for 30 seconds. I asked one of my girls to drive to the grocery store to pick up something, and she responded with, "Hey, Dad, Becky is coming over and will be here any minute. Can I wait until she gets here and she can ride with me?" I really need her to go right then, but it would have been weird to have Becky hang around us while my daughter was at the grocery store. So, of course, I told her that was okay. And I want to pause here to point out something. For this to work, your child has to communicate the issue, and if they won't, there's a good chance it's your fault. What? That doesn't make sense, does it? If because if you are typically not reasonable, then they will stop communicating with you. It's as if, hey, why say anything? They're not going to listen to me anyway. So you have to learn to listen, be reasonable, or your child will not open up. They will stay frustrated, and you will be wondering why your child wants nothing to do with you. Chances are you'll blame it on society, social media, or something, and never realize that you are part of the reason. I have so much more to share, but in the light of time, I'll address it in part 3 about discipline. And so go to the next video where I will address more on this topic. All right, what I want to share in this next topic is how to keep these frustrating situations from happening. And the best way to lose weight is not to gain weight. The best way to clean your house is to not let it get nasty. The best way to keep your car running is to maintain it so that it's always running. All to say, the best way to deal with frustrating your children is not to get in the spot where that's an issue anyway. So on the next show, I will continue to give you practical ways to make that happen. If you're going to skip some of these shows, don't skip the next one. That's a good one. Also on the next show, I will address more on how to obey the first time. There really are times when your children need to obey the first time without hesitation, without any pushback at all, and do it all with a good attitude. There are times where it has to be because I said so, but that's not a way of life. All right, and I'm going to share with you how to get your child to go to bed on time. I'm going to address more about how to punish your child. And if they spill milk, do I bring down the rain of terror on them? If they punch their sister in the mouth, what sort of punishment is warranted? What if your child punches his sister 3 days in a row? How do you escalate punishment? I'll address that and more. But before I go, I have to share, I want you to go to the 17laws.com website, check out my marriage commitment challenge coin. I want you to have one of those. Get one for your every member of your family. How cool will it be if every time hundreds and thousands of people reach in their pocket every day and there's that coin there and they're thinking about their family, how can they improve their family? You can also pick up copies of the 17 Laws of Marriage, 17 Laws of Parenting, and be sure to sign up for my blog so you'll be able to get that weekly. And I know we're not perfect, but we do a pretty good job of helping families, and I look forward to seeing you next time.